Notebook number 1, 9. I'm not coming to Intro to Chinese Lit next week, but I'll be there the week after, I said. Shui Ling and I took the number 74 bus together at 7 in the evening. She was headed home, and I was going to private tutoring on Chengchun Road. We sat together in a double seat. She had the window, and I the aisle. She was wearing a white scarf, with the window halfway open. She rested her head on the ledge, her body tense, her eyes fixed on some far-off point in the dusk. Her isolation was apparent. I felt the distance between us. Okay, she answered in a tone that showed her waning enthusiasm. I wanted to leave, and she knew it. You're not going to ask me why? I felt a twinge of regret. I was hesitant to be on my own. Fine, why? She asked me indignantly, with her head turned to conceal her wounded pride. I don't want to have a steady relationship with anyone. I've gotten used to seeing you every week, and I can't handle being tied down like this. It's a bad pattern that I have to break. I told her guiltily. Okay, whatever suits you. She turned away again. Still mad at me? I felt sorry for her. Yes, you're selfish. She had turned her back to me, but her reflection in the glass revealed her loneliness and dejection. How am I selfish? I tried to make her say what was bothering her. It was so hard to get her to talk. Finally, after thinking for a long time, she aired her resentment. You don't want to have this bad pattern, but what am I supposed to do now that I'm used to it? Emerging from her silence, she could be rash with words, though she normally spared me. What are you used to? I pretended not to know. You know what I'm talking about. Her fragile voice was especially attractive whenever she was angry. No, I don't know. Whenever she divulged her overwhelming feelings for me, it was always bittersweet. That's a lie. I'm the same as you. I've gotten used to seeing you every week, too. She spoke timidly, not because she wasn't supposed to have such feelings, but because she was telling me about them. Because femininity meant having to hide one's true feelings. That makes it even worse. You shouldn't get used to it. After Chinese Lit ends, we're not going to see each other anymore. Why can't we see each other? She asked instantly, as if asking for the solution to a math problem. Because there's no reason for us to see each other. Besides, I'll run off one day, and that's when you'll feel really bad. For the first time, I had spoken aloud my true feelings toward her, and my words were a slap in the face. I still don't understand. Whatever suits you. She gave up all resistance. Number 10. Mauvais Song is a film, not another Goddard movie. A more youthful French film. Its male protagonist is built like a lizard, and clearly has traces of crocodile in his blood. All the other men are short and stout and bald. They're all ugly men in this film. Aside from the sight for sore eyes of a young Adonis in the lead role, the director is a contemporary master of aesthetics. I must ascend, not descend, the protagonist declares. As he nears his final moments, the female lead embraces him from behind, and he resists. It's moving beyond words. He closes his eyes with a dramatic flutter and utters his last words. It's hard being an honest child. After he dies, a hideous old man squeezes a single blue tear out of his closed eyes. There's essentially no way the lizard can be honest. Even as it rolls over and turns its white belly up, it must take its hidden tears for its lover to the grave. The lizard has a good name, Loose-Tongued Boy. Betty Blue is another film. It's relatively institutional fare. A French film made for a young mainstream audience. Just how was it made for them? There are only two colors, blue and yellow, which make things easy to remember. And aside from the two protagonists, a man and a woman, there's no one else on Earth. Time glides by in the film without so much as half a struggle or a long conversation. Anyone with eyes, even if they're colorblind, can sit with popcorn in one hand and soda in the other and leisurely watch the whole thing. Fair enough. The best thing about the entire film is when the main couple's friend, upon hearing news of his mother's death, lies in bed paralyzed, and other people have to dress him for the funeral and tie his necktie, which is adorned with naked ladies. The tears streaming down his face make you want to explode laughing. The female protagonist, Betty, says, "Life always had it in for me." She gouges out her own eyes and is sent to a mental institution, where they strap her to a bed. The male protagonist says, "No one can keep the two of us apart." He disguises himself as a woman in order to sneak into the institution, and with a pillow smothers Betty to death. At that moment, his face, exquisitely white, radiates a ghastly feminine beauty. The director uses a crazy love to curse the hand of fate. Fair enough, though the last bit will make you gag on your popcorn and soda. The first film was nauseating, so was the second film. The difference is, the first film is sincere in its approach. From the beginning, you know that it's nauseating. The second film is deceptive in its approach. It tricks you into thinking that you're not on the road to nausea until the very end, when the truth becomes clear. Nauseating is nauseating. Try to be the most honest child you possibly can, says Mauvais. Who says you can't get away with a naked lady necktie, says Betty Blue. Number 11. Meng Sheng. Did I ever truly love this man? I don't know the answer to that question. I attended an arts camp in December 1987 in the town of Van Shui. After I'd introduced myself in a fiction workshop, he stood up in the front row, walked back to where I was seated, and knelt down in the aisle next to me. The frivolous grin on his face hinted at an unusual astuteness beneath the surface. "I'm a year older than you. I go to the affiliated high school. Next year, I'll be at your school. Just hearing the few words you said, I felt as though you were the only one worth listening to. All that other garbage makes me sick. Coming here was a real waste of my time." This pompous fool spoke as if no one else were around us. My heart was filled with utter disdain. I felt like scoffing, but managed to indulge him with a smile nevertheless. After crouching for a while, he impulsively launched into a set of squats, as if it were some form of self-amusement. Though he was an archetypally beautiful boy back then, he was also not exactly what you would call a boy. I sensed he had the power to lead others astray, and this power was in part what kept him young. Apart from that supremely cheeky grin, there wasn't a whiff of boyishness about him. "What are you doing? Scurrying away like I'm a skunk. What's so important?" As I walked out, he followed right behind me. Even as other people were trying to talk to me, he stood there impudently, blocking the way. I was losing my patience. "What's wrong with skunks?" he quipped. "At least they can make annoying people disappear. So why don't you make yourself disappear then? What are you doing here?" I said, letting my irritation show. "What am I doing here?" he repeated. "Good question." He slapped me on the shoulder. "It's just that I don't even know what I'm doing out here." He pouted innocently. "How about if we have a talk, old pal?" I said, softening. I gestured for him to sit beside me. "We're not old pals," he protested politely, putting his arm around my shoulder. I pushed it off. "All right, big brother, stop following me around. You're ruining my chance at happiness." "You're the one with seniority here. What a joke. People like you have no clue what happiness is. That word has been erased from your mind," he said contemptuously. Then he did a gleeful somersault, right there on the ground. Instantly I recognized that he and I were of the same ilk, each embracing our own singular way of seeing things. Yet he seemed pure and whole compared to me, and in that respect he was more precocious and more exceptional. Were it possible to love him, it would also mean loving his brand of exceptionalism. By winter of that year, he'd actually grown quite attractive. He was a tall, handsome youth. Number 12. Just another day, right? The last day of Intro to Chinese Lit. Exactly as planned. I went to class. In order to get there early, I sped down the road, pedaling at full speed. My heart was pounding. A million different thoughts had been swirling in my mind, and now they were lodged there, unexpressed. She'd chosen a seat in the very back. Her purple backpack was on top of her desk. She'd put her head down, and her long locks hung over the edge of the desk. By that point, she wasn't talking to anyone at school. I knew she was lonely, separated from her friends who'd looked after her. She had been trying to be her own person. She just sat there, not moving. I paused at her side, contemplating her isolation. She looked miserable. I knew she didn't want to live this way. I was upset, and so I treated her badly. "I'm here." It was almost time for class to start. I called to her lightly. She answered indifferently, without lifting her head. "You don't want to talk to me?" My guilt and tenderness were starting to spill over. "Oh, I'm really tired. I want to go to sleep," she said softly. She still hadn't given me so much as a glance. She was pushing me away. Fine, you should rest for a while. Unwanted by her, I felt like my heart was being dragged around on a chain. I plodded over to the desk in front of her and sat down. After class, I stood up front to observe her from a distance, but she wouldn't look at me. Moving slowly, she quietly packed up her things. I glanced over while chatting with an acquaintance. She was already gone. Wait, there are so many things I want to tell you. I barreled out of the building, through the bikes, searching frantically for a familiar one. Nothing. I sprinted toward the place where we'd always met before leaving together. No sight of Purple anywhere. I made a mad dash in the opposite direction. I knew it was too late. I'd already gone down the wrong road too many times. I'd never catch up to her. After checking the bus stop by the rear entrance, I turned around and started walking home. Please no, I just wanted to tell you it doesn't have to be this way. A dark night's rain, the storm was intensifying. With my clothes clinging to my skin, I was racing as fast as I could, but the faster I ran, the harder the rain and wind seemed to fight me. My socks were encrusted with a layer of mud. I could feel it. After wading through pools of standing water, my legs soon felt like wet logs. I checked every bus stop before turning onto the next street. I'd already run a long way. I sat down weakly inside a bus shelter. I'd never find her. I waited wearily for the next half hour. Basically, what I wanted to tell you today was that we shouldn't stop seeing each other. I couldn't find you, and so we still can't see each other. I also brought you that book you wanted to borrow. The rain turned to drizzle. My eyes stung as I finished writing the note and tucked it into the rear rack of her bike, which I'd found parked across from the literature department building. Whatever, really. It'll fall out by itself, which will save a lot of trouble. With the slackening of a rope, I'd been sent tumbling to the ground, and now that I was on my own again, I was at a loss. I missed her. I'd gotten what I deserved. The next day, around noon, I walked into class late, not even conscious of where I was. Someone passed me a note. Your book is missing. I had to go to gym class in the morning. As I was walking over, I noticed a whole bunch of bikes were missing. In my heart, I prayed that my beloved bike wasn't one of them and got really worried. But sure enough, it was lying there, on top of one bike and under another, covered in mud. I hurried to stand it back up, wondering if I should wipe off its frame with my handkerchief. I was crying inside. How could anyone have knocked it over so carelessly? Then I saw that the rear rack had a pink flyer stuck in it. I just hate those tacky flyers. And when I tossed it aside, I saw your note. There is no book. Someone must have stolen it, so I had to tell you. Your book is missing. I don't understand your complicated reasoning, and I don't want to. You said it was for my own good, that you stopped having anything to do with me, and that we should stop seeing each other so there'll be less grieving. I don't understand it at all, and I refuse to ever understand. Maybe you have it in your head that things are better this way, but it doesn't address my situation. Did you ever consider me at all? Because my answer is, it's not good for me. I used to think that I could seek refuge in you. Those 2 words, seek refuge, were what I really wanted to do. You're the only person at the school I'm close to. It's happened 3 times now that I've gotten depressed and needed to escape. Each time I ran from campus, clutching my backpack and hoping I wouldn't bump into anyone I knew, and I found my way to your apartment. As I rang the buzzer, all I knew was that I needed to see you, but you were never there. The first time I was tired, so I sat down on the steps and stayed there. I was already a little closer to you. I could feel you there. Then I found the energy to go home. After that, I stopped ringing your buzzer. I just had to hang out on the steps for a while, and that was enough. Did you know these things? If you don't want me to seek refuge in you, sorry my skin's not thick enough to handle it. What's wrong with that? From Shui Ling. I still recall it. When I received that messily scrawled letter, messily scrawled and yet elegant, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I read it several times and still couldn't comprehend it, but I couldn't read it again. My eyes were fixed on her name. I jumped to my feet and got on my bike and pedaled to the lecture hall where she had her afternoon class. With the wind in my hair, words flooded my mind. My heart swooned. That day I was wearing green jeans, and the color sparkled in the light of the afternoon sun. I stood out on the lawn, waiting for her to pass by. As any fool would tell you, there was never any book left on the rear rack. She walked past me and asked what I was doing there. I said, "Can we start over?" She turned around. The ocean wept. I knew it was mutual love. Number 13. The singer Zhao Chuan has a new song out that goes, A boy sees a rose in a field. Working on this notebook, I stayed up from the wee hours of midnight until 9 a.m., listening to this song on repeat. Didn't listen to any other song on the whole tape. And now for this section's tangent. I cannot resist your wildness swaying in the wind. I cannot imagine you would so much as shed a tear in the rain. In the early morning wind, you are a rose beyond compare, ever dangerous, ever alluring. You are the rose of autumn's final reverie, so distant and absolute. A boy sees a rose in a field, this rose that grows in a wasteland. How full it is in bloom, this rose that grows in a wasteland. This notebook constitutes part 1. It recounts the period from October 1987 to January 1988. Each 80-page notebook is quickly fading, having been filled out in pencil, based on 10 massive journals worth of material. I wrote 8 manuals that can be read as admonitions for young people. A clear transcription was made using a ballpoint pen before each notebook was stuffed into the bottom of a drawer. Whenever my memory failed me, I would take out a notebook and look at it, and go over the events that made me who I am. They illustrate a process. The first 2 notebooks, though, are meager compared to the rest. They didn't have journals to serve as a reference, so I had to rely on dwindling impressions, which meant tinkering around until it sounded right. During my 4 years of college, I left a lot of things behind. And sometimes writing was like finding a parking spot. Just as I was about to give up, I managed to achieve a perfect fit, thanks to a bit of skillful maneuvering. Other times, it was like examining food that had been left sitting out for so long that ants and cockroaches had gotten to it. On other occasions, it was like a major year-end cleaning where I was forced to throw something away because I couldn't find anywhere to put it. And still other times, it was like trading in a used car for a new one. I didn't give it a second thought. Freshman year was a total blackout. I burned all her letters. I gave her an exquisite beige journal as a gift. These were all things that happened later on. She was subjected to my every which way of purging things, and in the end I was purged of her. Consequently, I discovered that I had no shortage of purging methods. By then, I was a purgeaholic. Because she was mine, an illness had set in, and because purging her was a cure. What was gone was gone. There was no looking back. I wouldn't purge anything else important, or so I vowed. By the time I'd invented a glue powerful enough to stop my purge-happy hand dead in its tracks, it was too late. No one was left in my inner circle. Since Meng Sheng left behind scarcely an eyelash, these days I have no choice but to become an archaeologist. A girl sees a rose in a field, is how it should have gone. That's the kind of song Meng Sheng wrote for me. End of Notebook 1.